forgotten what we said. Okay. Do I have to look at the camera? Yeah?
Yeah,
A few
look at-
years ago, my father died about 6 years ago now, and because of proximity to really where my mother lived, I ended up being her sort of part-time carer, which was an absolute joy. I really did enjoy it. And then last year, poor thing, she had a stroke, a major stroke, and she spent nearly 3 months in hospital. And she recovered. I used to go in and see her every single day, and she got better. Talked to her, her voice came back, but the doctor said she had to go into her home. Anyway, all of that aside, she went into her home. She was only in there for about 3 months. She was very independent. She wouldn't press her emergency button. She fell, broke her hip, went into hospital, came back out, and then she fell again, broke 3 ribs, and then slowly there was a slide downhill. And I talked to my youngest sister about burial. And originally my mother wanted to go up to the family vault in Lancashire to be with her parents. Since Dad died, she talked about my wildflower meadow, and I said, how would you fancy going in the wildflower meadow? And she said, oh, that would be a lovely idea. And she slept with my father was cremated, and she slept with my father's ashes by her bed. And so my brain was thinking, well, this is perfect, bury Mum with Dad's ashes in the wildflower meadow. And I knew about Yuli and her lovely felt shrouds, and I had, in fact, I'd photographed her mother's funeral in Chagford, which was a most wonderful occasion. So I had an insight into what all this was like. And actually, all I can tell you is it was the most soothing, beautiful experience. I mean, there's a certain amount of stress to it. I took the lovely felt shroud and the crate into the care home about 5 days before Mum died, and the head of the care home was rather shocked at that. Previously, bodies had been taken out in a black body bag. Nobody had ever brought a coffin in before. But she was amenable to it. We put it in a storeroom, and then on the morning Mum died, we went through that whole process. The body was lowered into the shroud. It was tied up. We brought her out on a sack trolley. She was put into the back of my Honda. We drove home. We laid her to rest, a chapel of rest in a shepherd's hut that I hadn't finished, and then a few days later we had the most wonderful ceremony. And what was lovely for me is that my 2 boys both came up to me afterwards and said, Dad, that was just lovely. That was the word they used, lovely. And my wife came up to me and kissed me and said, do you know, that was lovely. And the beauty for me now is that Mum's down there. I planted an Everest crabapple on the grave. That came into blossom in the spring. Absolutely stunningly beautiful. It's now forming little apples, so they'll be gorgeous in the autumn. And I go down, most mornings I go down and chat to her and to walk my lovely collie. And what else can I say? I mean, the idea of using a woolen shroud to wrap my mother in, and me seeing the whole process, I did go through the whole process, didn't trouble me at all, and bury her was just absolutely fantastic. Now, my father, this is why Lucia and I decided on this. My father had a cremation with an incredibly well-known national funeral director. It was a disaster. It was awful. I can remember the hearse arriving, and behind the hearse were 2 great big Mercedes limousines, empty, and I asked them, why had you brought the limousines? And they said, oh, it's all part of the package, sir. And we went to the crematorium in Whipton, and I've never forgotten this. When it came for Dad to disappear behind the curtains, it didn't work. And Lucia got really cross, and she said, got the whole family out of there. And I was the last to go, and I went and tapped Dad's coffin, and the lid was loose. And I came out and I said, I'm not even sure he was in there. It sounded terribly hollow. I'm sure he was in there, but it just left a very bad taste in our mouths. And we both said when we knew Mum was on her way out, let's do something different for her. And it was just a joy, simple as that. So I can't do anything else than say, I recommend it, and think out of the box. Literally, think out of the coffin. There are other ways of doing this, and you won't regret it. Because for me, here I am, a few months on now, and I just feel so glad that I chose to do that rather than a cremation.